pledge.
I almost got 10 seconds.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh my. Good evening. Excuse me. Welcome to the March 5th, 2018 Bryan City Council meeting. And first on the agenda tonight, we will have approval of the minutes from February the 19th, 2018 meeting. Council, do you have any additions or corrections?
I move that we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes. Next on the agenda is hearing of public concerns.
If you could come up to the
Podium. Good evening.
Good evening.
If you'd give us your name, please, and your address.
Okay, I sure will. Get my papers out here. This is the first time I've been in this room. It's very nice. My name is Paul Angevin, and I've talked to the mayor a little bit about coming to the meeting, and she welcomed me to come and speak to you. I've lived in Bryan for 42 years. I have 3 children, all of whom attended Bryan High School. I'm retired. I'm a former employee of Continental General Tire. We just witnessed another mass murder of 17 children at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. These students were innocently studying, learning, chit-chatting, probably active with cell phones in a seemingly safe environment. Sadly, an angry, disturbed person with an automatic weapon appeared and randomly murdered 17 children and injured many more, possibly permanently. This past October in Las Vegas at a concert, another shooter with an automatic weapon killed 59 people from the 32nd floor of his hotel, injuring 851 people, 441 from gunshot wounds. He fired 1,100 rounds with this assault weapon during this shooting, 1,100 rounds. Some assault weapons can fire 30 rounds in 7 seconds. This person had no previous mental illness or law violations. At Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, 20 children between the ages of 6 and 7 were killed, as well as 6 adult staffers and his mother. This shooter had a disturbed past with psychological problems. This can happen again anywhere, anytime, and yet we've seen no action from our government. What is happening to our country? Why are we so paralyzed to act that we cannot stop this mass murder shootings? The city of Bryan is responsible for the safety of its citizens as are state and federal officials. As a citizen of Bryan, we should be asking city officials, specifically city council and our state and federal government, what proposals do they have to stop this uncertainty, to begin to take action to protect our children and our citizens? Now is the time for action. Now is the time for action. Along these lines, I am asking City Council, the mayor, and other city officials to request of state and federal officials that they take specific action and tell us in detail what action that is. Specifically, I'm requesting that city officials contact Robert Latta, our federal representative, to come to Bryan to a town hall meeting to answer questions from the public about what action he is going to take on the federal level. Phone calls and form letters are not satisfactory. Face-to-face interaction with citizens is needed. Our Ohio local Senate representative from District 81 is Rob McCauley. He should also be requested to appear in a town hall meeting setting and discuss what action he is going to take on the statewide level. Likewise, our local Ohio House representative from District 1, James Hoops, should be requested to appear in a town hall meeting setting and discuss what action he will take. These three men are responsible to us to implement action where it is required for our safety. We cannot wait months and years. We need action now. I would like to see the City Council put on the agenda for their scheduled meetings what progress is being made with these government officials. The time for phone calls, unanswered, form letters, excuses, etc. is over. We've got to stop this political party bickering over our children's safety and the safety of all citizens. If you are not going to take action, not you, but if they are not going to take action, they should get out of our way and let progress be made. Are we going to make our students carry the heavy burden of solving these problems? Right now, that's all that's moving in our country, the students. Here we are, adults not able or capable of taking any action, and the students are moving and doing something about it. The following are some of the issues that need public exposure and discussion at a town hall meeting with our elected officials. What are you going to do? We should ask. What are you going to do? Questions of our public officials should be direct and specific. These are some of the ideas that have come out. How do we acquire additional funding for more psychologists in schools? Is there a current legislation regarding assault weapons and universal background checks? How do we acquire additional funds for more counselors in schools? Can cities and states pass ordinances to help correct some of these problems and issues? Should we consider the use of community volunteers, such as retirees, to serve school needs when they are needed? Should the City Council agenda include in every meeting items related to community safety? The city has scheduled a very important meeting and forum for March 13th at 7 p.m. at the High School Commons, sponsored by Bryan City Schools and the Bryan Police Department. Public attendance is requested and open discussion will be regarding our local issues. This should be highly publicized in the community, either through the schools or through leaflets or something to encourage parents to come to these meetings. Thank you for the opportunity to meet before you. This is our community. We need action here and from other officials. God help us if we don't take action now. The time is now. The time is now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a copy of my presentation for each member, which I'd like to give you now,
Thank
if
you.
that's all right.
You may.
And I would like to also emphasize what he said about the meeting on March 13th, which is next Wednesday, I believe. Is that the Tuesday? Next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. It's really important, people. Please attend.
Thank you. Some additional information on the back of my presentation, too. Let's see.
Thank you very much, and thank you for caring.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. How do you spell your last name?
Do either one of you gentlemen want to speak?
L-A-N-G-E-V.
No? Okay, okay.
I knew you would know who it was.
Okay.
Shucks.
Thank you again. Next on the agenda is an ordinance. Lori, would you please number and read?
Ordinance number 8, 2018, An ordinance authorizing the Director of Utilities and City Clerk Treasurer to apply for, accept, and enter into a cooperative agreement for construction of the South Walnut Street, East South Street Water Main Replacement Project.
Yes, this is a, oh, are you coming? Please go ahead, Mr. Maynard. Love for you to speak to this.
Well, that's fine if you would prefer.
No, not at all.
Um,
We're willing.
Council may recall in the utilities budget, we included approximately $630,000 to fund construction of a new 8-inch water main on Walnut Street, the 300 to 900 blocks, and then 2 blocks east of Walnut Street on South Street. And the intention is to finance that project. The process that we're in is that we opened bids last Friday. We got 3 bids that were significantly, 4 that were significantly below that amount that we budgeted, to the tune of $100,000 approximately to $180,000, almost less than that. So we accomplished that goal of getting out early and putting together a larger project and getting a better deal on it, it appears. So the board will likely have a special meeting next week to review these bids, determine whether they want to award the bid, and if so, to request council permission to move forward with an OWDA loan for that project. The legislation before you tonight is really just the enabling legislation. To actually go and submit the application would have to come back before council following any board action and recommendation on it. So I'd be glad to try to answer any questions if you have them.
Make a motion to suspend.
Second.
Lynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion to adopt?
I'll second.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have a building permit. Mr. Whalen?
Good evening. We were presented with another building permit from Bard Manufacturing. What they're doing is about a 1,600 square foot addition to the north building that's there along Wilson Street. That's more or less a storage building, but this building, they're gonna, I think they said they're gonna test some of their equipment in there. Maybe have some AC units running and whatnot. So 1,600 square foot building, about $170,000 construction cost, and we've reviewed the plans and they're ready to proceed. So with that, I would request you approve their building permit.
This is in addition to the engineering building?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep, the engineering building was with the main campus, and this is on the same campus, but clear at the north end.
Okay.
There's a large building right out just inside the fence.
Okay. I move that we approve the building permit.
Second. Oh,
Go ahead.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'll hand this to you and you can pass it down. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the annual reports from the street department and the fire department. Who wants to go first? I guess the fire's going first.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Council's been presented with a copy of the annual report for 2017, and the presentation that I'm going to give to you tonight is just a little snippet of what's in the annual report. Last year, the fire department responded to 405 incidents. This is down slightly from 2016. This is kind of the breakdown of the 405 incidents that we had. Of course, 17% of our calls are good intent calls. These are calls in which the occupants have a smoke detector that's going off, or a carbon monoxide detector that's going off, or possibly they smell smoke. These are the calls that they get classified in this area. So the chart that you see before you is how it's all broken down and how we report it to the state of Ohio. 269 calls for service were within the city of Bryan last year, which is typical percentage-wise. Pulaski Township was the next largest response area, and then Center Township, followed by Jefferson Township. These are contracted, as you know. We come to council on a regular basis annually to have the fire protection contracts renewed. This past year, we did a 5-year contract agreement with the townships. So it's more convenient for the townships so that they can plan. But again, this is all under contract with the city. We also have a contract with the county to protect the nursing home out on County Road 16, as well as the park that's out there and the dog shelter that's out there. Our response time for last year in the city was just a little over 5 minutes. This is from the time that the pager goes off until the time that that first piece of fire apparatus arrives on the scene. For a mostly volunteer fire department, that means folks leaving home, getting up at 3 a.m., getting dressed, getting downstairs, getting in their cars, getting to the fire station, getting inside, getting their fire gear on, getting on the trucks, out the door, and to the place of the call. So that's really good for an average response time. And then also the chart shows the average response times to the other townships that we contract for. The other locations are those areas that we go to, like Montpelier, Edgerton, Stryker, Defiance, where we have mutual aid. By the month, last year, you can see that May and June were our busier times of the month, followed by December, and of course February and January. All in all, it's pretty flat. We're busy every single month. We average about 32, 33 calls a month. The busiest day last year was Thursday, followed by Monday, and then Saturday. Friday was the next busiest. Again, we're pretty flat, so we have a little hills and valleys here and there, but for the most part, every day of the week, we're rolling a truck out for service. Time of day, this hasn't changed. In the last 12 years, we start seeing an uptake at about 6 a.m. It continues to climb until about 7, and then we see a little bit of a drop off, and then it continues to come down through the evening. Again, last year, I've compared the 2018 to 2017, and you can see where we had a little more uptake between 7 and 10, and then again at around 11 compared to last year. So that kind of shows you with this chart, again, when most of the calls are happening, they're happening during the day, during the hours when we have staff on station. Last year, the on-duty staff responded to 107 calls. Each one of the crews then, the busiest crew last year, looks like it was a tie between Crew 1 and Crew 3 with 63 calls each, and then Crew 2 and Crew 4. General alarms last year were 64. General alarms are when we send all the trucks out, structure fires, car accidents with entrapment, things of that nature where there's life hanging in the balance. Most of our calls are single engine response calls. In other words, one truck can handle it. One truck with 4 firefighters on board usually can handle that about 90% of the time. Last year we had a very successful year in property saved. Last year, we had approximately 95% of the valued property that the fire department saved. That speaks volumes, again, for a mostly volunteer fire department. Our loss was limited to just a little over, or a little under $300,000 last year. Of course, all that's done through fire prevention. We go out to all the schools, preschool through 4th grade, present our fire message in regards to how to be safe. We go to the parks in the summertime, and we've just started in the last couple of years, the month of October, in conjunction with the Volunteer Fire Company, we do a smoke detector giveaway to all the 2nd graders at Bryan City Schools. We feel that it's that important to get smoke detectors in every single home. And through our surveys, we have found that if the families don't need the smoke detectors, they're giving them to other family members who might need them or do need them. So they're getting out there, and again, if we can prevent a fire, we've done our job. Wrong way. Of course, we can't go out there and do anything unless we have our training. Training is probably one of the most important aspects within the fire department. Last year, our firefighters had well over 1,000 hours of training. So firefighters are training every day of the week, including the weekends. And every Tuesday, we have training for the current staff, volunteers, and we'll train anywhere between 2 and 3 hours on a Tuesday, different subjects. Could be fires, could be confined space, could be hazmat. Right now, we're in the middle of, actually, we're getting ready to finish up our EMS refresher for the year. So we're constantly training, honing our skills, and we're ready to respond to just about anything that gets thrown at us. Of course, special events. Fire department goes to many events. The fireworks, we're out every year at the city Halloween party out at the ice rink. We hand out safety material there. And of course, we go to special events such as the big flag that we have. We go to the Veterans Building last year when they sent the vets off to Washington, D.C. for the day. So we handle those kinds of events as well. Hello. Yep, now it's going to hang up on me. Let's go the other way. There we go. Thank you. Of course, we're always looking for people. We're getting ready to start our campaign for personnel for the next class that's going to be starting in the fall. So if you're interested in becoming a volunteer firefighter, give us a call. Go out on the web. There's an application out there you can fill out and send in to us, and we'll get you through the process. So next slide for me. It's freezing up on YouTube. Oh, that's great. There we go. Here's a list of your Bryan Fire Department. Each one of these men and women that are on the department spend a lot of hours and a lot of time away from their families, giving to the community. And if you see any of them out on the street, just tell them thank you. I really appreciate that. So, lastly, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Of course, you can also find us on the web. And that's my presentation for the evening. Any questions?
How difficult is it for you to find volunteers?
It's starting to get more and more difficult, simply because of the number of hours of training that they have to go through. Plus, they have to maintain their training level. That means continuing ed training. In order to keep you have to do CEUs in order to keep your certification up. And it's done on a 3-year rotation. So there's a lot of hours put in, not only to get certified, but to keep your certification.
With the employment challenges throughout the county, do you get in front of like high school students and different avenues to try and promote that this is another option for them to consider if they want to give back to the community? And
We have a junior firefighter program. We've had a junior program probably for 25, 30 years now, maybe longer. And out of that group, we've gotten quite a few folks that have gone on and became volunteer firefighters. And some of those folks have went on to become career firefighters in other communities, not only in Ohio, but across the United States.
Yeah.
So we have had some success in that arena.
Well, the last thing I want to say is, that, you got a great department. You do a great job. I think you shared with us last month that you just attained a level 2.
Yes.
So you're in the top 3 to 5%, I believe, in the state. Kudos to you and your staff and department. You're doing great.
It's the men and women that were on that list that do all the work. I get to sit back and let them do their thing, and support them. So, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I don't know if it's for Chief Siders, it's just, or if it's for, like, city council. I just don't know. Does the city have, like, AEDs in all city kinds of, like this building, or is it just like catch as catch can, whoever?
We do have AEDs in this building. There are 2 in this building, one on the first floor and one on the second floor. Police cars have AEDs in them. Of course, all of our fire trucks have AEDs.
Okay.
One of the problems that we have with the AEDs, especially in patrol cars and like in my vehicle or my assistant chief's vehicle, is they're outside all the time. And that hurts the batteries. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult and it's a very harsh environment to try to carry them in a vehicle that's outside all the time. Being in a vehicle that's inside, like a fire truck, most of the time when it's housed, it's in a controlled environment, you can keep the batteries up on those. Again, inside the city hall, we have 2. Obviously, I believe the pools each have one. The community center, I believe, you don't have one at the community center. I thought there was, but I'm not sure. But there are AEDs around.
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm not real sure how much people know. When I first brought it up, I lost a couple of my own board members because the expense has come down considerably on the AED. A couple of years ago, when at Harbor, I bought about 30 of them at $4,500 a piece. You can now get them, very nice ones, for like $1,200. And we just put one in at the David Betts Double Play Diamond because the information, the data that I had received on a national level was that the response, which is it's what prompted me, your response time is very good. It's outstanding. But one of the things that was stated is that response times generally are in 5 to 7 minutes. Mm-hmm. Someone who needs an AED is dead on arrival in 7 minutes. So unless you've got someone doing CPR. So we wanted to put one in, and so that kind of prompted my question. And it's actually, I'm looking at Benji. There's a number of people. It's a safety issue. There's a number of people that I've talked with that are concerned. Do we have those available out in the rec? I'm making this up. Maybe like the food stands, the concession stands, in case, especially where older people are at, where they get excited over a sports contest and may find some difficulty in that and need some relief. So I do, I'm going on here. I do appreciate the feedback, but I'd like to see if there's something that we can look into that to see what the expense would be and if it's something that is valuable for the city to have. I certainly understand the police patrol cars, but there's also a lot of facilities that we own that we may want to look to see if that's something that's, since the price has gone down, if that's something worth having. And I wouldn't know that. I would need that recommendation from you and the mayor, because I wouldn't have a clue where they're at or how many we would need or if they're even good bang for the buck.
I can speak to that a little bit just from my days on the soccer association. Obviously, we had a lot of kids out in rec park during that, same with baseball and softball. And we had basically had a conversation with Rob Ember at the Y. He has one. The Y is typically open during the hours that we had kids in the park. Because again, the harsh conditions of putting them in a press box or an unair conditioned or heated concession stand, our conversation was always call the police, someone drive to the Y.
Okay.
And I know that isn't a perfect scenario, but nobody wants to run to a press box and find one with a dead battery either. That wastes time too. So certainly something we can talk about at a department head meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have many. I think, like he said, we have one in each pool, I believe. But, you know, long range, yeah, it's probably something we need to take a long, hard look at.
Well, when I looked into them,
Put in
sorry.
different facilities. But our biggest problem is being able to get them in as many facilities as we can get them in.
Right.
Still, you gotta have some people that are there that know what they're doing.
Know how to use
Yeah.
them.
Well,
You
the,
gotta have some form of training to use it.
yes, that's true, and the ones that are pretty much made now, if I may say, because I'm probably one of the more or less techie people, I can say this, they're pretty much idiot-proof.
Yeah.
Put patch here, put patch here. You just shut up. The machine's saying, I will tell you if you need to shock. So, I mean, they're getting pretty much idiot-proof, but they're coming down in price, they're pretty much idiot-proof. One of my big questions I had for the manufacturer was, so I put this in, 4 years from now, the battery's dead, someone goes to use it, I feel like I'm at more liability. Then he told me that they actually have data printouts every month that will tell you, and it will chirp, and it will bother you to the end of the world. It will continue to chirp until you get that battery replaced. So I don't know. I just would hate to see somebody that die. That I know the AEDs. I've actually talked to a couple of people who actually were saved by them, and they thanked heaven that the school had them where they were at, and the one was at a basketball game, the other one was actually at a baseball game, and they had it in the concession stand, ripped it out, put him on him, and he's here today. So, I've had other people talk to me about this. Very good report. You know what I think of your department already. I think it's excellent. You guys do an excellent job, and thank you very much. If that's something that could be looked at, I'm not saying there's a resolution, but you know, I would just it'd be a good thing. It'd be a good thing, I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything?
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Engstrom?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, we're gonna look at 2017 for the street department. Last winter, and this is the last half of 16 and 17. It's just the winter of 17. We spread 450 tons of salt at a cost of $23,836. And we sprayed 24,928 gallons of brine at a cost of $1,936. The next slide kind of breaks down what brine is, which last year was the first year that I had this slide in because we would get lots of phone calls and complaints about brine because nobody really understood what it was, which I don't remember getting any phone calls this year when we would spray because it is salt water. You know, it's sodium chloride and water. It's the same thing.
The calls were like, are you putting pollutants on our streets? That kind of a call?
We would get down at the
nice.
bottom, you know,
Okay.
the state and other agencies use calcium chloride, and I don't know that they use magnesium chloride anymore, but that stuff is harder on
Harder
vehicles
on
than
vehicles, right.
sodium chloride.
Right.
Which sodium chloride is the same thing you put on your french fries.
Right.
It's salt. It's bad on cars, but not as bad as some of the other stuff. And it's not, you know, the wastewater from fracking wells, because they call that brine for some strange reason. That's called brine, but it's not what we're spraying on the road. And it's a lot cheaper than rock salt. Because we can, like our salt route, which is the main thoroughfares, Main and High, Mulberry, Union, the main roads through town. If we salt those, we use between 40 and 50 tons of salt. And we would, before we used brine, we would salt those if we got a dusting of snow. So we would dump 40 to 50 tons of salt on the road, whether we had a dusting or we had an inch of snow. Because we couldn't differentiate between the two. Now if we use brine to do those same roads, and that will take care of up to an inch of snow, you know, we're only spending, where is it? Roughly $280 to $315 every time we spray brine, rather than $2,000 or $2,600. So it's a lot cheaper, and it's less salt when we're done on the road. Because we're only, you know, it takes 1,000 tons, 1 ton of salt to make 1,000 gallons of brine. So it's cheaper and less salt on the road by the time we're all said and done.
Tyson, is that already mixed up when you put it down, the brine, or do you
Yeah,
have
we
to
buy
add water
that.
to it?
No, we buy it from ODOT.
Already
They make
done.
the brine,
Okay,
so we buy it all pre-made from them.
okay.
Can I ask you a question about the temperature of the brine?
Go ahead.
Is it room temperature or is the brine?
When we spray it,
Yes.
it's outside temperature. The tank is, there's 6,000 gallon tank outside our barn. So whatever it is outside, that's what the temperature of the brine is. And it's actually won't freeze until, I think it's either 6 or 7 degrees. And the next slide is our employees. We have 12 at the street department and 6 at the recycling department. We had two new employees, one at the street, which was Bryan Caudle, and then one at recycling, Cassandra McIsaac. These are the routine duties and jobs that we do throughout the year, every year. One highlight from here is we cut down 64 hazardous or dead, dying terrace trees last year, which in years past that has been up to close to 100. But I think most of the ash trees are pretty much gone, so that number's going back down to right around 50 or 60 every year. And of course the leaf pickup. And our Durapatcher, which is the machine we pull behind the dump truck that mixes the emulsion and the stone together to fill potholes. We used 908 gallons of emulsion last year, which was down from previous years, but between the weather and having time to do it, we didn't do as much last year, which will be out in full force this year with the winter that we had, with all the potholes that are popping up. But the weather has to warm up before we can use that. And a picture of the trash route by day of the week. And this is by month, how much trash we haul to the landfill, and that's between the all trash on Tuesdays and the weekly trash, or the daily trash. So last year we hauled 3,443 tons to the landfill at a total cost of $267,179, which the average price per ton is $77.59. And it looks like June was our highest month with 321 tons. But every month is between 250 and 300 tons. And that's the same information, just in a bar graph. And out at Fountain Grove Cemetery, last year we had 29 burials.
Can I ask you something about the landfill?
Yep.
Just, once again, I tried to look ahead to see if you're gonna cover it. That's why the delay. Tyson, have you seen it, because you've been over the years, have you seen like I can look at this and see for this year, is that 3,400, is that continuing to go up year after year? Or have you seen differences with the recycling? You know what I'm saying? Is it getting less, more, about the same? Is recycling having some kind of a positive impact on the land? That's the point of it, right? Isn't that the point of recycling?
Right. I mean, the recycling does have a positive impact on it. But as far as going up and down every year, it's pretty close to that.
Is it pretty close?
Yeah.
No thoughts on how that could be reduced more?
How much we take to the landfill?
Yeah. No.
I mean, we're recycling everything that we can.
Yeah, okay.
The problem is that, you know, about half of what the recycling takes in ends up getting thrown away because there's nobody to buy it.
I see.
You know, everybody sees, you know, the plastic containers, egg cartons, stuff like that everybody thinks is recyclable is not. That we don't have, there's
So you
nowhere
end
for
up
us
taking that
to
to the
sell it.
landfill.
So that, yeah, it's taken to the landfill.
That's kind of where I was going with that question. Thank you. Thank you.
I think I covered that, right? 29 burials, and then we poured 24 bases, which are the foundations for the headstone. Now the recycling, which last year, the recycling center brought in 972,000 total pounds, and that's between the appliances, the tin plate, plastic, cardboard, newsprint, or magazines, and aluminum. Which the most profitable one, if you do it by the pounds we took in and the amount of money, the aluminum makes the most money. And then cardboard, that was the highest total. And the second highest amount of money. So we take in a lot of cardboard and don't get very much money for the cardboard and the amount of work that it takes to process it all. The total pounds we took in, we sold all of that and only made $76,963 at the end of the year. But if you take that 972,000 pounds that didn't go to the landfill, that's another $38,000.
Yeah, once again, I think that's where I was going.
We saved.
I mean, it's not just sitting in the landfill, it's also potential revenue. That's kind of what this can be discussed some other time. I certainly did not, my apologies if you felt like you're on the spot.
No.
It's just things come up and I ask them and I'm sorry.
That's fine.
They're used to the mayor's brain working that way too.
We're getting used.
You know, I'm just kind of curious with the aluminum, with the tariff scenario that's now going to be taking place. I wonder if that's going to help or hinder our price per aluminum. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Should be interesting to see what
But
happens.
usually when the price of those things go up, what we bring in goes down.
Yeah, that's what would also equally concern me, yeah. Thank you.
That's all I have.
I had one question, Tyson, and it's something I've always wondered about a little bit, but when we have big trash day, and then, like for me, then the next day is my regular trash day, and you guys do a route for big trash and for regular trash. Is there a way to combine those? Is that something you've looked at, that you've ever thought about, or is it just not make sense for other logistical reasons?
We've looked at it and thought about it, but it's hard enough to get people to put their trash out on the day they're supposed to put it out, especially if they're all trash. When it's, you know, like yours is the 4th Tuesday of every month.
Right.
Well, a lot of people think it's every 4 weeks. So they put their all trash out every 4th week, but it's not, it's the 4th Tuesday.
Are you having problems with Lynn? Just let us know. We can take care of that. We can take care of it.
But if we try to combine those for 1 week that month, I think that would cause more confusion, and we would end up going back the next day anyways to pick half of it up because they forgot that we changed it.
No, that's fine.
So
I was just
that's
satisfying my curiosity there. So.
It does seem like it's a waste to go back the next day, but they aren't out 8 hours. They're done you know, like in your
It's a
neighborhood.
short
They're
route
done
then
by
for them.
9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're off doing something else.
Okay. Very good.
Anything
Okay.
else? Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Tyson.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go around the room. Mr. Dominic? Chief Willis? Mr. Whalen?
Sure.
He's ready.
Got kind of a twofold conversation here. I guess to start with, more or less for the new people, I mean, you're aware of our industrial park, the new industrial park we have out on the north side of town. And we've been working through a process, and I actually wanted to get some aerials up and show you what we were looking at, where it's at, you know, how big everything is. And of course, every week we get requests for, you know, is this site good for us? We have a lot of companies that are interested. We don't know who they are, but they give us information, and we try and see if our site can fit their needs. And, you know, marketing is a big issue that we have here at the city. So last summer, Jobs Ohio actually had a program called Site Ohio Industrial Site Certification. And we worked through this process, and it was very cumbersome. You know, it wasn't all me, it wasn't all utilities, but, you know, Kevin and his group with Nate and Al and Norm and Joe and Andy from my office. Mayor Johnson was very instrumental in this. We actually had an all-day presentation that Matt Davis from Wedco, he led the presentation, and Kevin and I were there. We spent several hours, and this presentation was like a dry run with this Insight Consulting. They were the ones that came up, and they were trying to see if we met the bar, if we met the mark. You know, are we a good enough site? You know, are we lying? You know, do we have enough? You know, is this a good enough site? And it was a pretty strenuous day. We actually went out and toured the site and came back through, and they actually critiqued us. And when they critiqued us, they, you know, they invited other people in. And I think, Gary, you actually went to that. I think Lori went to it, Rhonda. I don't know, I think there might have been another, I don't know, might have been another council member there as well. But they critiqued us and told us what we did right, what we did wrong. There really wasn't a lot of things wrong. They just said, just give us a little more information. And our goal was, hopefully, we would be certified. And if we get site certified, then they market it for us. So if somebody from, I don't know, I'll use Tanya from Insight Consulting. She was one of the main people that was in charge of this, and she kept saying, Daimler Chrysler or some big company is going to come in here. You know, we've got this beautiful 80-acre site, and that's what they're marketing. So, you know, if Chrysler comes in and looks at it, they're going to go to the State of Ohio website or, you know, talk with local people, and they'll say, okay, well, let's go to the state website. Let's see what we got. So our goal was to be one of the first people on that state website, but we never thought Bryan, Ohio would ever even be close to that. You know, we're just up here in the northwest corner. But we actually got a letter via email today. It went to Matt Davis at Wedco, and it's from the Ohio Development Services Agency. And they said, it has been determined that the Bryan North Industrial Park meets the requirements and industry standards required to receive Site Ohio certification.
Super.
And is hereby approved for such certification.
That's great.
These standards developed by Jobs Ohio, Insight Consulting, and so on ensure that the quality of infrastructure, highway access, and environmental conditions at the Bryan North Industrial Park property meets or exceeds industry expectations. So with that, we've got a small fee we need to pay, but very minor. But once we get that done, they said they're going to be in contact with us. They'll get an advertising company up here. The drones will be in the air. I mean, this is big for Bryan.
So do they, right now, if my memory serves me decently, you started off by saying that every week we get some sense of interest, don't know necessarily who, but we get some sense of interest.
Right, yeah, you'll have a project.
Would those same, are we talking about that same process, or would those people now contact?
No, those people, let's say Daimler Chrysler is looking at a site in Ohio,
Okay.
called Project Charlie, if it's the third project. And they'll actually go to the state of Ohio and they'll say, do you have any sites? Well, what the state of Ohio is trying to do is get a pool of sites that has all the questions answered, has all the diligence done.
Right.
That's what this letter does. Without that process, then they have to send out to multiple different entities firms in Toledo, with Matt Davis at Wedco, they'll submit that information, then we have to jump through the hoops. We have to actually get the 50, 60, 70 questions answered. We actually have to get all the information and present it every time and keep it updated.
So can we get hits?
It's done for us.
Can we get hits from both ends is my point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
So we
absolutely.
get hits from both ends and then,
But they're gonna look here first.
but even if, I'm like a coon dog, right? I'm on a scent. So this, Billy Bob wants to contact us. Can we, is it appropriate for us to hook them up with the
Absolutely.
state? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
just trying to get it in my head how it
No,
works.
basically, in a nutshell, this is free advertising.
Yeah, this is great.
This is free advertising for us. Kevin and his group at the utilities and my group in our office and anybody I've needed anything from. We've had questions with Tyson from the street department, with Ben at the parks. I mean, this presentation we did was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, there was 60 or 70 slides and we had to keep it short. We had to have all this information, have all the 10,000 questions answered in less than an hour. And it's tough for me to talk that little, okay?
I don't throw stones there myself.
It was a struggle. We actually had to tone it down and they want the facts and we're done. Then you move on. So, I'm very proud and I'm not taking credit for this at all. I had very little to do with it. It was all a joint effort. Again, between Kevin and Mayor Johnson and myself and, council, you were all supporting us on this and the Board of Public Affairs, they're the ones that initially, saw the vision on this site and purchased the site. And, we're always talking economic development, economic development. Well, here's a copy of the letter. So, it won't be too long and you'll be seeing some activity.
Yeah,
and again, we've got a project we're working on right now. Carrie and I have been, going through Project Falcon, I guess. It doesn't matter who or what it is.
You get 2 days to answer about 86 questions.
Right.
And
And a lot of the information we have, but yet some of it is site-specific. That they'll ask certain things, and you need to reinvent the wheel every time. Every time. The wheel's rolling right here.
Right.
It's rolling.
That's great.
But with that, I just wanted to make that announcement. I'm going to give copies of this letter to everybody here. But I'm real happy. And
That's great.
had Carrie and I not talked about this at 3:45 this afternoon, I would have had a better aerial than that up there, but, because I wanted to actually do a better presentation, but,
Sorry.
no, you're fine. The heck with the pictures. This is it. I'm happy, so.
Well done.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful.
I'll hand this out.
And Lori was my first call because I knew she had a lot of work with it too in the
Yes,
beginning.
Thank you.
absolutely.
And I'd also like to thank Matt Davis from Wedco. He was very instrumental in hooking us up with this. And also like to mention that while we didn't make the first round of the site certifications, we made the second round. We actually beat many in that first round. They have not been certified yet, and we were able to
Right.
get our groups together and
I don't know for one of
certified quickly.
the top 20 maybe. I'm
Yeah.
guessing at that number. But, we're in the upper tier of the sites to actually get certified
That's
as far
super.
as, the amount of work we've done environmental studies, we've done archaeological studies, we've done soil borings.
Does this get PR to Bryan? Besides this and.
Yeah, Regional
and
Growth
the
Partners
Bryan?
will,
Right.
and
Okay.
Jobs Ohio will market it.
Correct. Regional Growth Partners is in Toledo. They're, I don't want to say a step above Wedco, but they'll get, it all goes to the state of Ohio initially, and then it gets distributed depending on what area they're looking for. So it could go to the RGP in Toledo, and then once the RGP gets it in Toledo, they'll say, okay, they're looking for 80 acres, what do we have? And they pull out everything they've got, and they say, okay, Matt, what do you got in Williams County? Okay, what do you guys have in Fulton County? Well, this is gonna hit them before they get to the RGP, because it's in Columbus at the top of the list, so.
The RGP mentioned it last week at the Pinnacle.
Did they?
They said that Bryan was getting it, because I was at that meeting and they said that it was
We
gonna
got.
happen.
I'm happy, this is dated March 5th, so I'm tickled,
Yeah.
very tickled, so, but I guess any questions, stop up and see me sometime, or if you wanna go take a tour of the site, but I'm hoping something big's gonna happen here, and the advertising is very, very cheap and gonna be very effective for us, so.
Congratulations to all of you that worked on it.
Absolutely, thank you.
Wonderful. Mr. Engstrom? Chief Siders? Mr. Whalen?
Just a couple thoughts. Mr. Langevin, thank you very much for coming out and sharing your thoughts. I think it's definitely a hot topic, and I think you're on the right path. I hope we can keep that momentum moving. I would also like to say thank you to Chief Willis and the police department. The feedback I got from the community while you were at the school after that incident has been very positive. I think that's really nice that you had a presence there. I think that was well received in the community. I think that's it.
Mr. Betts?
Yeah, once again, I think I want to echo that. The reports from the chief and from Tyson are excellent and very helpful, and I appreciate all that you guys do and all that your staff do day in and day out. I also, by happenstance, believe it's not only a hot topic, but I believe a long overdue topic, and appreciate your presentation tonight because at least from a personal perspective, I certainly will not speak for City Council. I will be at the meeting unless there's something I'm ill or some other problem. I will be at the community meeting on safety because I do believe it can happen in Bryan. You're looking at a person who lost a son. I know what can happen that nobody believes can happen. It can happen in Bryan, and we need to, I believe, as a city, protect our youth. We have a great police department that serves and protects well. In the same sense, that doesn't mean that we can't assist them with some other potential avenues and proposals that I will be interested in hearing about on the 13th at that community meeting. But I feel very strongly that we need to do something as a city concretely, and we may be able to solicit and help get some assistance from the state and federal folks. My experience with that has been also fairly close to the vest, and my response to that is that's a long, hard road. Not that they're bad people, just that it's a difficult piece. I, at this point in time, would probably prefer to involve them, but also take local action and see what we can do here to assist in providing better safety features for our schools in the city of Bryan. That's it.
Slotherman?
The Bryan Chamber of Commerce is hosting a SABRE program, which is hosting it with the Williams County Sheriff's Office on March 29th at 8 o'clock. It's going to run from 8 to 10. It's going to be the new era. If you're interested in going to that, do register with the Bryan Chamber of Commerce, but that also is active shooting to prepare you on what to do in case you're involved in something that on how to prepare yourself. And I strongly encourage the community going to that as well.
I guess the first thing that I'd like to talk about is addressing these gentlemen. I want to thank you for coming out. School shootings are something because I'm involved with high school students, and in my job, this is one thing that I have to deal with, is protecting the students of our school. And you know, when I was a student at Fort County, you would have thought that someday we would be talking about things like this, 40 years later. But it is the reality of the day, and I want to commend Chief Willis on the police presence. Not only that there was a police presence, but from what I was told, it was very discreet, so as not to instill panic. And that's a tough balance. When you have people that are on social media talking about they want to get in their pickup truck and get their shotgun and go out and protect the schools, that's the other aspect of this that you have to be careful of. And I know their intentions are good, but it's probably not the best idea in the world to do those things. But I don't know what the answer is, because you talk to 10 different people and they all have 10 different solutions to this problem. And hopefully we can come up with something. The bottom line is we have to protect our children, and unfortunately we're protecting them from each other. And so I appreciate you coming out and expressing your thoughts. The other thing I wanted to talk to was the building site for the city of Bryan. That was a tough decision at the time because there's a lot of money that was being laid out there with the idea of hopefully we can get a company to come in, and this is a great opportunity for us. I want to thank you and Bryan and all the people that have been involved with getting this process done and getting us certified, because I know it wasn't an easy process. I know we've had some conversations about this early on, about how difficult it was going to be, but at the end of the day, it's been very worthwhile, and it'll be even a better day when we see that first building going up on that north end. So thank you very much.
Lori?
I just want to say too how excited I was when the phone call came in and we were site accepted. That was a pretty rocking moment for me, just because we've waited for it for so long and hoped for it for so long. Can't deny that my first thought was, how soon can we get a business in there and let's see that income tax roll through. But I'm very excited, and it was a team effort, and these guys did a great job, and it was fun hearing the excitement in the mayor's voice and just knowing that everybody's on board with it and good to go.
Mayor? First of all, Chief and Mr. Engstrom, thank you for your annual report. Second, thank you, gentlemen, for coming and supporting your friend, Mr. Langevin. I know that we spoke, and I appreciate you coming up. And I hope that the public does get more involved in this. I watched actually a city council meeting in Isle of Palms, South Carolina, which I know seems weird, but I have a friend that's on council there, and they had like 15 people come up for hearings of public concerns, and they're a pretty small beach community. And so you are our first guest this year, I believe. But I do hope that people attend the March 13th meeting. I think that Superintendent Savage's and our biggest fear is that we're gonna put ourselves out there and give you information about what the city and the school already have in place, and then ask for some suggestions, and I worry that people are not gonna come. And it's such an important issue and topic. I know, the police department, myself, the school officials, were on the phone till about 2, 3 a.m. And then we were at the school by 6:30 in the morning. We had 8, I think, officers at every door. I stood at another one with a principal, and we greeted the kids in a manner in which that was professional and I think non-threatening, which I think was very important, so that they knew we were there to make sure their day went smoothly. The school was very cooperative with our police agency. Everything was well done, but the fact of the matter is, there was enough of a threat that we had to do that. And that's a scary thing, because I sent 3 children to school that day. But with that being said, I really hope the community gets involved. We did just get word today that Jerry Stallings will be representing the juvenile probate area on our panel. And so again, to review that, we have someone from Job and Family Services, Juvenile Probation and Judge, with Jerry Stallings. He represents Judge Bird's office. Chief Willis, myself, the superintendent, Diana Savage, the entire school board, and I feel like I'm leaving someone out. Yes, retired chief and retired former school resource officer Jeff Arnold will also be on our panel. I am committed to doing what we need to do on the city side, and I hope council will follow suit as we get more information on where the school would like to go with this. I can't promise that we'll be perfect right away, but we are willing to try to help protect more diligently than we do now. Also, the Wedco banquet is March 8th, so I look forward to seeing you there. That's always a good opportunity for us to be with other villages, and that will be in Montpelier at the Williams County Veterans Building.
I think I just want to, same thing that everyone has said this evening. I'm very, very proud of what you've done with this thing for the industrial park. This is marvelous. Thank you so much for all of you that have put work into this. It really, really is going to mean a lot to Bryan, Ohio. Next, I want to thank you again for coming and speaking to us, and I encourage everybody out there to please attend the meeting that they're going to have. These people that are on this have some very difficult decisions to make. And they need to know that this community is behind them, whatever they do. And if you have any ideas, don't be afraid to go to them and voice these opinions, because I think they would like every possible idea that they could hear. So please do that. It's a very, very precious commodity that they're trying to protect. It's our future. So God be with them as they make decisions. That's all I have. Okay? Could we have a motion?
A motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Lynn,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes. Have a good evening.